All right, thanks everyone for tuning in. I just want to do a quick reaction for the Browns versus Steelers games, and I'm a Browns fan, so this is coming from another Browns fan perspective. That game was a mess. So many different variables to blame. It's kind of puzzling in my mind how our fan base is always pointing direction one way. I mean, everything is not good at all. The quarterback play is while he played good in this game by far was not his fault. It's not good enough to overcome this stuff. The wide receivers dropped everything. Play calling has been questionable. Defense, yeah, they only give up 15 points, but like my gosh, you can't. They don't make the big plays when we need them. And a lot of the big reasons why the defense only gave 15 points because we have so much just pure talent from the players' angle versus the play calling and the scheme. You see our defensive line. Clowney's a stud. Whatever we need to do, like as long as he stays healthy for the most part, the rest of the year, I'm willing to give him a decent contract because that dude's a beast, and he's been a beast with Myles Garrett. Those two have been like playing like crazy, their butts off. If anything, I think Clowney's been playing better this year than Myles Garrett, more consistent. I know Myles has all the sacks, blah blah blah, but he played very well this year. I mean, this game, Myles Garrett, but he's been kind of quiet for a lot of games, and Clowney's been stepping up in a lot, especially in the run defense. He's been a stud on that. Our interior defensive line's been playing very well with Malik McDowell in particular. I hope we keep him long term as well. Andrew Berry did a great job in my opinion with defensive line, and I think that's part of the reason why our defense looks competent at the times it does, which is not always. Um, but man, the play calling has been on both sides has just been pure awful. From a defensive angle first, I don't know why when we have a statue of a quarterback we just don't blitz him more. And then maybe like it's kind of crazy to me, but there's two guys you need to defend from the Steelers essentially, which is Claypool, and you could just put your best corner, in this case maybe Greg Newsome, and just play 1-on-1. So what the dude's tall, he might get a couple catches against him, but play man to man on that and just frickin' have a guy that's always spying on Najee Harris for any potential screen pass or any weird stupid play that they design with him, because that's literally their only offense, especially with Big Ben being inaccurate down the field. So I don't know why we just can't figure that out. And then if we just blitz more to put pressure on them, so they kind of are forced to do those screen plays and all that kind of stuff, those quick pass downs and dink and dunks, and we could kind of just have that spy, kind of keep an eye on that, and that should theoretically take care of that. I know easier said than done, but to me that's a general fan's perspective, should be very novice of an idea just to help defend against that whole thing. I don't know. Um, I mean, they give up 15 points, so you can't. This by far today was not, or the game yesterday was not on the blame on the defense, but they didn't help. Those big plays, they need to clean up. I mean, the Steelers' offense is atrocious, and a lot of that, the only times they struggled a little bit, just because their defensive line played very well. And kudos to Greg Newsome, I thought he had a great game, and some other guys made a couple plays here and there, but for the most part, it just needs to be cleaned up. I, for the life of me, still don't get how the secondary gets beat as much as they do, but that's a different conversation for another day. Um, Now, as far as the offense, the fun stuff, I first of all, from the coach's angle, I don't understand the play calling at all. We run the same kind of plays, the same every game, which if that makes sense, like it makes sense from the angle of this is our way. We need to stick with it and kind of develop that identity, but it's not working. And I think it's a little bit of everybody. Like the reasoning why it's not working because everybody. I think people are just messing up with pre-snap false starts and all that crap, which I don't know how you still do that now. These receivers are not getting open, and then yesterday they dropped everything and anything. Baker, for the most part, played pretty well, but those big plays that we need, he needs to not overthrow his guys. Everyone says that Austin Hooper thing's a drop. He put two hands on it, so what? The dude has to be like 7'2", like with his arms standing up to catch that pass. We need Baker to lower that pass. Should he catch it? Yes, but at the same point, I mean, if you want to play that game against Austin Hooper should have caught it, well, Baker should have threw a better pass. I'm sorry, it works both ways. But yeah, Odell, I used to think it was more on the quarterback play and the scheme play, so not just Baker, but Stefanski as well. But I'm starting to think Odell just might not be that good. I think even if he plays on another team, I think he'll get a couple catches, but I don't think he's going to ever be that guy again, even if he ever was, just based on that one catch. I don't know. Landry disappointed me. I know this one of his few bad games with us, and he's probably really banged up. Well, we all know he is injured and he's recovering from it, but he probably is more than he's saying. But still, you can't do that, and you can't fumble in that situation. That's not an excuse for fumbling just because you're injured, you know. If you're that injured, if that's the excuse, then don't play. Pretty simple. I'd rather have Schwartz, who's like 5'2" and a twig, just try to run, pretend to do something. Um, yeah, and then Nick Chubb. It's his first game back, so I don't want to put the blame on him. But if he didn't look the same, and I think that's because it's his first game back from injury. But if that's the case, I don't know why we didn't use Dearness Johnson more, who looked good that one touchdown. To me, that's kind of like common sense, and you just keep a rhythm with that running back if that's the case that they're doing well. Because Nick Chubb got stuffed, and the plays that he did make, everyone's like, "Oh, Nick Chubb made some big runs." Yeah, well, the freaking offensive line gave a huge gap. Like I could run through that. Any of you could run that and get 5-10 yards easily. Heck, Dearness Johnson and Demetric Felton would have freaking took that hole and ran for it too pretty decently. So that really bugged me. I don't know why we didn't stick with Felton and Dearness Johnson a little bit more, knowing that Nick Chubb didn't look rightful 100%. If anything, just ease him in with a few carries and let him take more of a workload as the games progress. So next week have a little bit more carries and the week after. So that I don't understand from a offensive scheme play calling thing as well. And like I said with Baker, I thought he played pretty well for the most part. First half he didn't play. He played pretty average, is probably safe, and I thought he actually played above average. The second half, that just when the drops were very more noticeable. The problem with him though is I think as two sides always freak out on each other with the people that hate Baker and the people that are just in love with him and just want to marry the guy. Apparently, I don't know why. I'm kind of honestly in between where I think I'm a realist, unlike some people, both sides. He's a good quarterback. He's also not a great quarterback. And the problems with these kind of games are, yes, the wide receivers dropped everything and no one really helped them, but great quarterback play can kind of help counteract that. And that would also help potentially change the play calling, which Stefanski, in my opinion, also is kind of handcuffing him a little bit. But I think for all you Baker fanboys and all you Baker fan haters, all you Baker haters, I guess, I think it's a little bit of everything. I think the play calling is just kind of constraining Baker and what he can do, and it's also just Baker himself. And yeah, he's injured, but this has been like this for the whole freaking year. Even the Kansas City game, he wasn't throwing it deep, which I don't know why, but either way, there's a trust issue there, as some people are saying. I don't know which way you want to look at it, just depending on who you're more a fan of, Stefanski or Baker, whatever. But you have to admit there's a trust issue between the two when it comes to just allowing them to be free and kind of play naturally. I just don't see that. I don't think that's an injury thing. I think it's been like that. And then Keenum thing as well. Like Keenum, I mean, would he win this game today? I don't know. I think he's good. He's not great. Honestly, I didn't think Baker played that bad today. It just, both our quarterbacks aren't great enough to overcome this stuff. And then when you have wide receiver, and you need everyone else around you to play well and make plays, which all of our surrounding support cast did not. And when you have situations like that, you're just not going to win. So honestly, I think everybody's at fault for this Browns versus Steelers game. I mean, kudos to the Steelers for winning, but I didn't see anything spectacular from their end, and I'm sure Steelers fans would probably agree with that as well. Especially when you lose a kicker for freaking half the game. I mean, my gosh, you're basically relying on a quarterback who can't throw that well to basically seal the game for us, and they still did, which is just mind-boggling from every different angle, from a defense angle, offense angle. Special teams too, like my gosh, we need to teach Felton and Schwartz just like how to return. You don't go like swoop around the whole freaking field. You don't even do that in college, let alone in the NFL. I don't know why they can't. I know it's natural instinct from the players, but from a coaching angle, you just kind of like, it would make sense to me to just be like, hey, can we not start doing this whole like run across the field backwards and try to pretend you're faster than everybody get around. I just don't know why that coaching angle, they just don't tell them to stop with that. It's mind-boggling to me. It really is. Because to me, as a player, if you were a player, you hear your coach say that once, I think you have that in the back of your mind moving forward to stop doing that. So that's been bugging me. So I don't know. To be positive, I guess, Greg Newsome looks like a solid first-round pick, and so is JOK when he's healthy. So that's cool that Andrew Berry looks like he might have nailed those two picks. Not that we use him that much, but the kicker looks like he's actually a kicker, which is awesome. And then our defensive line looks legit as well, and they've been consistently playing well every week. So I think that's awesome. We need to make sure we lock up those long-term contracts with the defensive line. And then obviously with Jack Conklin going out in the O-line, I think that's going to be a major issue. Even though Blake Hant hasn't been bad replacing him, but you'll see that as a depth concern since apparently everybody gets dinged up and banged up in our offensive line. once Jedrick Wills or Hans goes down, even for a couple plays in a game, you'll probably see that very noticeably. And then with Baker, kind of not to his fault, but you could tell he's concerned about his shoulder getting a big hit. So when it's a questionable play about to get sacked, instead of trying to break out of it, whatever, he just goes down, which sometimes honestly might be better for him just to begin with, so he doesn't play that hero ball and pretends to be someone else he's not. But it's still concerning that that's happening. And like I said, I don't really blame him when you have a broken freaking arm. I would be doing that too, but just from a fan angle, it's tough to see that, because if there's any pressure from the O-line, which is not their fault because they can't be perfect, especially against a good Steelers D, that's going to happen. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to clean up. I'm actually very curious to see how we play against the Bengals. They lost to the Jets. Nothing in the NFL means anything when someone beats somebody or loses anybody, as we see every week. But I'll be very curious for how we play them. If we kind of play very flat, I think that's going to be a very major concern. And I already think the season's relatively over. If anything, we might be a last wild card playoff spot team with a 10-7 record, but I just don't see it with the way how we're playing now, how we could turn things around. So hopefully we play well against Cincinnati, and go Browns, but there's always next year, I guess.